Hi, and welcome everyone for this sixth episode of the Venly Expert Talks. And this time I have Rachel Black with me, founder of Good Ghosting. So we're streaming this live on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and we're also recording this for Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And just a small reminder why we do this, why we do the Venly Expert Talks, is because we want to inspire this generation of Web3 builders with great stories by great minds like Rachel's mind. So I'll be picking your brain on a lot of topics, DeFi related and gamification related. And the main topic of this talk is going to be about how to make DeFi consumer focused. So everyone, you can also ask your questions. We will cover your questions at the end of this talk. You can just ask your questions by putting them in the chat, and we will see them popping up here. I'm super excited, Rachel, to have you here. We've never met in real life, but I have the feeling that I know you from chatting in Telegram and following the Good Ghosting project. And yeah, great job on this, by the way. So if you want to introduce yourself, explain a little bit about your background in life, in crypto, where you're from, and then maybe introducing Good Ghosting already.
Yeah, of course. Just first of all, thank you for inviting me on. It's a real pleasure to be here. And yeah, it's all about in this industry, it's all about the Telegram life, the Discord life, the people that you meet URL, which I'm sure we will meet at one of the conferences soon. Yeah. Now everything's opened up. But yeah, as I said, my name is Rachel. I'm the founder of Good Ghosting. My background has been before founding Good Ghosting, my background has been in development. I was a front-end developer, also worked a bit with Node, but then found myself dipping into more into crypto in 2017. So got involved in sort of developer relations on the crypto side of things. So I was working for a number of companies there, moved over to Berlin, where I'm based out of now. So I worked for a company called Lisk. But yeah, now I'm basically doing, founding Good Ghosting, which maybe it's good for me to just jump in and give the listeners a little bit of context of what Good Ghosting is and what we do, especially if they haven't heard of the project before. So Good Ghosting, we're basically building gamified savings on DeFi. So our belief is that if you can save regularly and you can demonstrate that, you should get something more for that. You should get a little reward for that. And we're exploring different ways to do that, different avenues of gamification that facilitate that. So we have actually quite a number of pools live at the moment. We launched our first one back in June, our closed beta back in June this year. And so far, I think we've had around 15 pools launch live now, both on Polygon, and we've also recently launched on Seller as well. So we've got these social saving pools, and basically I can give you just an outline of how the kind of our MVP version one of our saving pools works. So basically it works like this: like you join a pool and you have the goal that you're going to make a certain number of deposits for a certain length of time. So for example, we launched one on Polygon on Tuesday, which was running for 5 weeks, and you had to make a deposit of 10 DAI per week 4 times. And there was just an extra waiting round at the end just to generate some more interest. So you're coming to the pool, you're making your deposits. You could be using Venly Wallet, which is probably one of the most user-friendly and easiest way to onboard with. We'll talk about that more in a bit. But you can use Venly Wallet to onboard, to pay your deposits. And as long as you hit all of your deposits, you've kind of pretty much won. You're a good saver. That's awesome. That's what we want you to do. If you did miss a deposit because something came up, you didn't have internet access, blah, 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 life happens. We know that. It is no loss. So you're always going to get your principal back. So in this case, it would have been a case of 40 DAI, you'll get that back. But what we do in the pool is we move those deposits as they come in onto somewhere where they're going to generate some extra yield and interest. So at the moment on Polygon, we're using Aave. So it's generating some extra interest. Then at the end, we can say, if you're a good saver, you hit all of those goals, awesome, great, that's what we want you to do. You're going to get a slice of the interest. So typically, we do see around 20 to 25% of people drop out. So you will get a high interest than if you go directly to Aave yourself. And also, of course, you're getting that like nudge and that incentive to save, because something that we notice, something that I've noticed in my own personal life is that, you know, often we set ourselves like financial goals and aspirations and we don't always follow through on them. So like we're trying to build like a gamified system that's going to basically encourage saving. So that's one part of it. And we're also experimenting with NFTs. And I think NFTs are going to become incrementally more important to what we do. We issue NFTs. So if you are a good saver and you also get the interest, you're also going to get like a really nice NFT as well. And that's going to become more kind of enmeshed in what we do as we evolve over time.
Awesome. Yeah. And I have one of the NFTs. I did the Paris pool when it was like the Ethereum conference in Paris. I joined that pool for 4 weeks with the 20 DAI per week, and now I get the shiny NFT from Paris. So that's it's super cool. But and how did you came up with that idea? And from your background, you suddenly started exploring DeFi and then thought about let's do saving pools and let's gamify them, or how did you come up with this?
Yeah, it's a good question. And actually it has like a very crypto native origin story, because it all kicked off at a hackathon, and it was the ETH London hackathon in 2020, which is pretty much like the last in-person event that anyone was able to attend. So it took part in that hackathon, and we kind of had a team. We sort of ideated it. We came up with this idea. We basically wanted to build something that was so I guess in DeFi, you do see that there's a lot of protocols and a lot of products that are really great if you're like a whale, for example, or there's like a lot of things that are great for people who are kind of like doing this full time. But we really wanted to build something that was going to be still useful and meaningful, even if you don't necessarily want to put like, or you don't have access to like, you know, 6-figure sums to put in or whatever. We want to make something that would be accessible to kind of an average person dealing with like smaller amounts. So that's when we came up with this kind of mechanism, and just basically focusing around the idea of, you know, if you save regularly, you should get something a little bit extra. And it was also at that hackathon that we came up with the name, and it was a little bit of a 4 a.m. in a hackathon inspiration, because I know sometimes people are like, ghosting, like, what is that? Why would you know, ghosting's not a good thing. Like, no, it's not. Normally ghosting is a bad thing. We all kind of, you know, we know about ghosting on Tinder and whatever. But of course, with good ghosting, if you're in a pool and other people drop out, you get their interest. So it is a good way to get ghosted. And, you know, just wanted to just have a little pun there. So that's the origin of good ghosting. So go to hackathons. That's also would be my advice to people who are interested in the space. Like, good things can come out of hackathons for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you as well for the best pieces of advice that you could give people that fall into this rabbit hole and the DeFi rabbit hole. And it's the first one that the first time when someone says, "Yeah, go to hackathons." So it's great to hear. And I believe that Ethereum is doing a lot of hackathons in all kinds of cities around the world. So yeah, I'm pretty sure for people to want to get into DeFi, there are many possibilities. What Okay, a hard question now, Rachel. Sorry for this, to kick it off.
Go for it, shoot.
What is DeFi for you today, and what will DeFi be in 5 years?
Yeah, so this is a good question. So I mean, DeFi does mean different things to different people. For me, like DeFi would be any sort of kind of financial product, protocol, application that's built on top of a distributed blockchain. So, I mean, of course, we've seen that like in the, you know, the Ethereum ecosystem, I'd say broadly, and I would also, you know, include other chains like Polygon and you know, Celo, also in that kind of EVM space as well. There's been a huge amount of innovation over the last 2 to 3 years. You know, everything from like stable tokens to, you know, lending platforms like Aave, all sorts of different ways that people can kind of manage their crypto and manage their funds in really new and innovative ways. There's varying levels of decentralization. I know that there's always like a debate around, you know, how some of these projects, how decentralized are they? And I actually think it's actually a lot of projects may be starting off with a team. Maybe they start off a little bit more centralized, but they're building still on this blockchain technology. And then over time, it becomes like progressively more decentralized. And I'm a big I'm a big advocate for that, because I think it makes a lot of sense, like in terms of actually building and delivering. So I think in 5 years' time, we're actually going to see there's going to be like a huge, the wealth of like opportunities in DeFi is going to be massive, because one of the things that I think is quite unique about this ecosystem is it's very composable. Like, for example, we could just build on Aave. Like, we didn't need to go and ask for their permission. We do have good relationships with Aave. They've given us a grant, and we definitely like support what they do. But anyone can like just tap into any kind of DeFi protocol and build on top of it. So as we kind of build out more like primitives and more stuff gets built on top of that, it's just going to kind of evolve in new and fascinating ways. And I think sort of good ghosting can be definitely part of that. I think that's really interesting. And I think so in 5 years' time, we're going to see that there will be more things built on top of the protocols that we're seeing now. I also think we're going to see like more decentralization, and we're seeing like a lot of the projects, that initially did start off, more team-based, and now moving to like a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization to manage that. So I think that will definitely be a trend that we will see. And I also think we're going to see like a kind of merger with other aspects. So we're already seeing like with NFTs, it's kind of NFTs and DeFi is blending. It would be really interesting to see how that pans out over the the next 5 years or so. So it's going to be an interesting journey. I'm thinking a lot, more decentralization, but also more collaboration and composability as well.
All right, cool. Yeah, nice to share this view. And I believe, yeah, same like today, a lot of businesses that will be DAOs in the future are more centralized now, just to have that vision, or to have a goal and a trajectory on what they want to reach, and then going little by little on a decentralized or being built on a decentralized manner. About you talked briefly about the grant that you received from Aave. How difficult, like for people that are listening that want to build their project on Aave or with the Aave protocol, how difficult would it be today to get a grant from Aave?
So we got a grant last year, so I can't speak for the process at the moment, because I know they've actually got an Aave Grants DAO. So I think it's probably actually matured and grown a lot since then as well. But no, it was actually not difficult at all. Like, I think there's and I don't think it's true just for Aave. I think in the space as a whole at the moment, we've gone through a massive bull run. So there is definitely money in the industry. So it's just kind of a case of like knowing what you're building on, getting in the Discord, chatting to the people. I think most protocols now have some form of either ambassador program or grants program. So I think it's not too hard. And as long as you build something that's useful and you're bringing users in, it's a win-win situation, which is really nice. So yeah, definitely if you are looking to get into this space, I would say dive into hackathons. Also take a look at like what grants are being issued from whichever protocols that you're kind of working with or interested in. And there's a lot of potential right now. There definitely is.
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing. Talking about users, you have, if I'm correct, around 10,000 active players or users. What is like most difficult, or what is the biggest challenge acquiring those users or retaining them? So acquisition versus retention. What would be the main challenges that Good Ghosting has today?
Yeah, so just to clarify on that, we've had just close to 8,000 players interact with each pool. So they may be actually unique addresses. It would be slightly less than that, but we've had like around 8,000 people partake in those pools, which has been like really phenomenal to see that number come through. In terms of growing the community, like this is like when it comes to like DeFi, and I think this is definitely also one of the differences between like DeFi and like fintech is community, right? It's all got to be. It is a kind of collaborative in a community space. So we've done like a number of things with our community. Like we've collaborated with a number of different other projects and other people in the space. So, for example, this week we just launched a pool in collaboration with another Polygon game called Crypto Coliseum, and also in Cello we launched a game with Cello Punk's NFT, and we've also done this with like. We've launched a game for like Bankless DAO. We've collaborated with Mask Network. of course with Venly as well. So I think being collaborative in terms of growing the community is the best way at the moment. I think there's a lot of potential for growth for all kind of projects, and it's not like we're in a nice space where we're not playing a zero-sum game at the moment. It's the more opportunities we create for users in the space, the more that they can do, the richer the space becomes, and the more that people want to engage into it, and it brings more people in. So I think definitely being very collaborative is part of it. And then also just creating having a fun environment on the Discord. Like, we're very lucky in our community that we have some very talented community members who've done all sorts of like creative things, like carved the pumpkins with a good ghosting pumpkin. We had that for Halloween, and we also had like community members like doing blender work in really quite impressive design work. We also ran some challenges, so we did a number of different things. Like we had a collaboration with like Comet and naming spaceships. That was quite fun. Spaceships backstories, that was another good one. And then also kind of drawing competitions and meme making as well. So I think it's very different to kind of growing marketing in a fintech project, I'd imagine, where you're not kind of not doing all these kind of crazy Discord things. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, community is super important, especially when you look at DAOs or becoming a DAO. Then the DAO is built by the community. So it's I believe for crypto projects today, like the most important channel would be a good Discord community or a Twitter community. But then Discord is just a great tool to organize everything and to have everyone talking and building together. And so how big is the Discord at this time? And is this for you? Is this somebody like full time working on a community site or being in the Discord, or is it the entire team that is active every day in Discord?
Yeah, so that's a good question. No, we don't have somebody full time, but we are actually hiring for that. So I've actually just written the job description this week. So I'll if you're interested and you're listening to this and you want to be a community manager, like ping me on Discord or on Twitter. It's definitely something we want to grow in. So I think we have around I think it's like around 3,500 members in our Discord. It's kind of it's sort of grown quite a lot in the last year, so that's been amazing to see. And then definitely all of the team is in there. We actually don't have I know some teams run with like a private Slack and then a Discord. We do have private channels in our Discord, but we're always on Discord as a team. So that's been quite nice to kind of really make that the hub of what we do. Because I mean, we're a distributed team as well anyway. So kind of, I mean, Discord is the place to communicate, really, isn't it? So it's
Cool. Yeah, definitely. And talking about NFTs, you said briefly DeFi and NFTs. There's going to be a lot of things that we can do on the DeFi level with NFTs. How, because Good Ghosting now is giving away those NFTs at the end of a pool. Is there going to be any utility to it, or how do you see the evolution of NFTs and DeFi coming closer together?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So we're definitely willing to build this out more. So we've been using NFTs since day one. Everyone who's completed a pool will have got an NFT from us at some point. You'll notice that we've actually recently started working with a really awesome NFT artist who's doing some really beautiful Blender work for us called Marley 3D. So that's been really good. What I see happening is basically, at the moment, it's a little bit superficial. You complete a pool and you get an NFT, but we want to kind of morph it into something that's going to be more gamified in itself. So it's going to be more like a kind of, without saying too much, it will be more like your avatar that can kind of level up as you complete more pools and more challenges. So that's kind of where we see it going. And I think it's also it's quite nice with NFTs because they can also represent like your personality. They can your person. They can also be kind of a reputation element, and we've seen that also with projects like PoUp, for example. So yeah, we're working on this right now, but I can't give away too much. But there's going to be potential to level up, and then the higher your we also introduced a GG score, which is if you've completed a game, you can actually go over to our website, and if you go to the leaderboard part, you should be able to check. You should be able to share. Like, we're going to add the integration with Venly. We've got it with MetaMask right now, but you get a certain score based upon like how many pools that you've completed. So we're going to think about ways to kind of combine this with the NFTs and all sorts of creative things there as well. Maybe you're going to get access to special pools if you've got a certain score, or maybe you're going to be able to have certain privileges in the pool as well, which we're looking at as well.
Okay, it makes total sense. I'm showing for the people that are watching the live stream on social.
Yeah.
You can see here the leaderboard, and I showed the spooky NFT just earlier, and I imagine that is from the designer you recently worked with.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's looking really cool. It's like the 3D effect, and yeah, only for this, even if it's like a gimmick, even if it was like just for a gimmick, I understand that people want to have this NFT in a portfolio. But yeah, super excited to hear that there will be utility attached to the NFTs in the near future. And yeah, if people want to follow like the alpha leaks, where would they need to go? Is it on Twitter that you share those, or in Discord?
Discord is always going to be our first port of call. So like we always announce everything first on Discord, but then it would be Twitter after that. So like jump into Discord, then follow us on Twitter. But yeah.
Okay.
But I'm also curious. I know that like with Venly Wallet, there's going to be a lot of NFT integrations within the wallet. So I'm curious to kind of also like ask a little bit more about the kind of developments that you guys are building over there.
Yeah, well, like when we started with the wallet was in 2018, and back then, yeah, NFTs weren't as popular as the regular, yeah, just the regular tokens or the fungible tokens. But we like redesigned our wallet to show NFTs first. So when you come into your wallet, and you will see your portfolio of NFTs on the blockchain that you selected. But then in the near future, we will have like complete revisited UI of the wallet, and then you will be able to see all the NFTs that you have on different chains. And from the wallet, you will be able to, within one click, to put the items for sale on the Venly market. So this is how we vision to make NFTs really, or give them a central space in the Venly wallet.
Nice. I mean, that's also great for us to hear, because I mean, it definitely means we're kind of aligned in terms of like putting NFTs as quite a central thing that we do. So that will be great to see some of those good ghosting NFTs in the Venly wallet for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe like a super small alpha leak, but it's going to be for next year. But we're working on your avatar as well on the Venly market, and the avatar is going to be linked to your portfolio, so you can choose a few avatar NFTs. So the good ghostings the good ghosting NFTs could be like the avatars that you can select for the Venly market. But more about this next year probably, because it's still a little bit early for us to share this. But back to questions to you, Rachel. What are your main challenges today, or what are the main challenges of the DeFi market today? So what's keeping the mainstream users to, let's say, ditch banks and go all in on digital currencies or stable coins? Because with the high yields, like you can get 3 to 5% on easily on stable coins. So what's keeping the mainstream people to say, okay, all my money from my bank, let's go on the Aave protocol or purchase stable coins and live from my yield?
Yes, that's a good question. So I think there's like a number of challenges, and I'm sure you'll kind of be familiar with these. I know that obviously like Venly is actually kind of tackling like the user experience part of it at the forefront. And I think that's constantly been a bit of a struggle in our industry. And I think fundamentally there's quite a lot of complexity to the tech, and it's quite, when you're coming from a world where you're not used to like managing keys, it's not really intuitive, So I think this is like something that will kind of evolve. And I think, there's, every year there are improvements to the UX. I don't think it's not going to happen. I just think it does take time. So of course, like, I mean, with Venly, like it being a kind of a regular Web2 style login, like with a password and email, like does actually make it a lot easier. And I think there's also, other wallets in the space that are also making that user experience a lot better. It's definitely getting better. And I think also people's education is going to improve as well. So I think it's, it will be kind of maybe a little bit of meeting in the middle that will happen. So the user experience is definitely one big part of it. And especially like, we start dealing with like multi-chain and we've had so many, so we've launched on Polygon, and, we have people like who've bought Matic on Coinbase, but of course it's like Matic on Ethereum, and then you have to explain to them that's Matic on Ethereum. You need to now bridge it to Matic. And that this is kind of, for somebody who's new, this is quite a mind-blowing, but possibly not in the best way, experience. So I think being able to buy I guess being able to buy straight into Matic onto that blockchain is going to be, that really does help that user experience. Gas is also another bit of a pain point, but then also, aside from user experience, of course there is some regulatory questions for the industry as a whole, and I think that's going to be hopefully something that we can get like more clarity on, in a good way, I hope, over the next like 5 years or so. And I think also people are still a little bit cautious, because of course we've seen like everything that happened in 2017, and a lot of people have lost a lot of money from that. So I think people are still a little bit hesitant to like put like all of their money on. I would also not recommend for anyone to put all of their money into any one thing anyway. I think that would be bad advice anyway. But I think we're seeing more people who are curious to experiment with a little bit of crypto. And I don't know, do you know how it goes? You experiment with a little bit of crypto, but then suddenly it somehow becomes quite a high percentage of your net worth quite quickly, in comparison to what you're getting in the bank. So sometimes that happens as well. But I think it will get there. And I think, particularly with kind of newer generations coming through, might even like, teenagers today who may even just skip getting a bank account. I remember sort of when you were a teenager, that was quite a big like milestone, and getting your ATM card and everything. So, maybe it's going to kind of jump a bit. Maybe people will start to kind of be more open to it. And then people will follow, I think. But it's always going to be, I think it's a very bubbly industry, whatever happens. Like we've seen that, in 2017, we're kind of seeing it with a little extent with NFTs as well at the moment. And I think almost maybe when it loses a little bit of volatility, that might actually make it easier for people to feel a bit more confident to enter the space.
Yeah, totally agree. I love your vision on it. I would even say, like, when I talk about the new generation, I would even dare to argue that they will be digital first, and they will prefer a digital bank, and a decentralized bank over a regular bank. But yeah, it's still to be seen, of course, if this level of adoption will go through. But
But it's also
see,
interesting just to say, because actually this is something I was just thinking, like we know it's kind of like I was bank first. I obviously had a bank account way before I had any crypto. So for me coming to it, which is like the experience of like 90% of the people now, like maybe 95 or whatever, it is painful when you have to kind of do the key management. You're like, what's the seed phrase, all of this stuff. But then once you're in, like the user experience is actually way better, because like now when I have to go and do something with a bank, and I have to like, do some painful onboarding, download some app, do, all of this stuff, like phone someone up, even actually go into the store sometimes and show my physical passport. It's not actually that good. Whereas once you have your wallet set up, and once you can do that, you can just interact with like any of these protocols, any of these dApps, like with a few clicks from your wallet. So once you've got over that initial pain point, the UX experience becomes a lot better. You just got to take that first dive. So I think we bash it a lot, but I think it's not perfect, the banking UX either as well. So we've got to always remember that.
Yeah, makes total sense. And this is exactly what Venly is doing as well, like helping those non-tech savvy users bridge the gap to get into crypto, to safely store your assets, to purchase NFTs in a safe and easy way. So it's definitely a long-term mission and vision for us. About your vision, gamification, and so will gamification of DeFi bring a new batch of adopters, or what is the psychology or the vision behind this, and what's your vision on long term? Will good ghosting always be that gamified space, or is it now to adopt the first batch of users? Or how do you see that?
Yeah, so we really are about gamification. We think it's like really powerful. It's a really, we've seen already with like, Web2 products, like just how powerful that tool has been to kind of hook people in and build up those habits. And like, we can do that to get people to build up good habits. Like an Web2 app that I really like is like, Duolingo. And if you miss a streak, the owl is sending you angry messages, and it's kind of giving you that nudge to learn a language every day, which I think is an awesome thing. So I think we can actually definitely apply this to finance, and we can see this happening in a number of places. And in fact, even in fintech, it is also gamified finance is also very much a area that's developing, and there's a lot of kind of products in that space as well. I think with DeFi, we're actually like placed to play more interesting games though, right? Because like we can actually play social gamified DeFi, which you can't do really in like fintech. Like you can have like goals-based savings, stuff like that. But for something like what we're doing with Good Ghosting, like it wouldn't really be possible to do that with in the regular kind of fintech space. So I think that's actually something quite powerful, that we can make these social games and the social aspects of it. And we are social animals, so I think that is something that's going to hook us in. And yeah, we can see like other projects in the space also kind of blending this merge of gaming and finance, and I mean it's natural, right? Because anything that's kind of is dealing with crypto has some sort of inherent value to it, and then if you can also apply game elements to it, then it becomes quite interesting. So we are very much in this space. I think it's going to be a really powerful tool to onboard people, because it's just much more fun. Like if you can get like cool NFTs and you can level up because you've you've saved regularly, that's actually putting you in a situation where you want to save, right? Rather than just being like, oh God, can't be bothered. And I think people like a challenge. And also it's it's a definitely an interesting space to explore. I think particularly with the social element, I think that's something quite new to DeFi, really, that you don't have in fintech.
It is super cool. Just to remind everyone listening, you can ask your questions as well in comments, so that I can ask them directly to Rachel. And Rachel, I still have a few questions open. Like one of the main questions that I have for most of the play to earn or DeFi or gamified blockchain projects is, do you see this accessible for everyone in the world, or is it gonna turn more to countries with a lower income, with today's bounty hunters that we have, and also for good ghosting, when it's capped to 20 DAI a week? How do you see this evolve? Because the amount of effort that you put in, for some people it's the same effort for everyone, but for some people the reward is bigger than for others. So how do you tackle this?
So like a really good question. So yeah, like we did kind of intentionally build kind of version 1, our MVP, with this kind of a goal to make it very accessible and not require like huge amounts of capital to partake in it. But I can also like just give a little bit of alpha. Like again, this will be something that comes out like again next year, but we will be actually like changing some things around, so there will be opportunity to pay in amounts that are larger and would be like maybe more appropriate for certain income levels or certain countries or whatever. So we're going to make that a bit more flexible, so that people can put more in if that makes it more valuable to them, or it's worth their time to do that. So that will come. But I think play to earn, like in terms of I can't speak too widely on play to earn, because I know it's just massively blown up this summer, obviously with Axie and everything. And it's actually really amazing to see what's gone on in the ecosystem there. I think they've done a phenomenal work there. But in terms of like what we are doing, like we do want to make it, as I said at the beginning, I don't think we're ever going to build a product that's going to be truly for like a crypto whale. But we will make it more flexible that it, you know, if you want to put like catering for people who maybe want to put like $500 worth, you know, 1,000, a couple of thousand in. So it won't just necessarily be just these kind of very small amounts that we're dealing with at the moment. Because you're right, like for some people, it's like maybe it's too many clicks and it doesn't, the effort that they'd have to do it may not be right for them. But we still always want to cater for people who don't necessarily hold those large amounts of capital as well. So it will be a mix. It will be a mix, and I think we can accommodate those.
All right, great to hear, and great to have like an alpha league here.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty happy about it. When I check the pools, indeed, it's like most of the pools are around 50 die, 40 die. Pool to wrap to eat. And you had a big summer pool. I don't know if
We
it
did
was
do one,
this
yeah.
one.
Like I think it's concluded now, but there was one where I said I think it was 100 or 200 die per week. I
Yeah.
think. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, so we did put that one out. So I think we're also going to experiment with different sums. Like we've pulled our community a lot though. Like we ran a one called Cello Community. We launched that about 4 weeks ago, and we actually asked our community like, how much do you want to save? And we ran a poll there, and then they did get back to us saying that they wanted to save like $10 worth. So it was kind of similar to what we'd done before. So we went with that. But I think it's, yeah, I think we should experiment with some like larger sums as well there as well. I can actually see a questions come through
That's good.
here, which is,
Awesome.
will I get my principal amount back when I save with Good Ghosting, and how secure is the platform? So yeah, this is a really good question. So yeah, with Good Ghosting, it's designed to be no loss. So like you will get your principal back. The only caveat on that is basically we do have a small early withdrawal fee. So basically we want to incentivize people to kind of to stick for the length of the pool, right? So if you miss a deposit and you wait to the end, you'll get your forward deposit back. If you withdraw like, you know, 1 week, 2 weeks in, then I think it's like a early withdrawal fee of like 1%, which actually goes back into the rest of the pool to be shared amongst the winners anyway. So we're just kind of incentivizing people to kind of stick with it. And in terms of the security aspect of it, so we had 2 audits done this summer. So we had one by QuantStamp and one by Dadaub. And I think there's like links to that on our website. So you can actually go and check that out. You can actually check it out on their website as well. So like that's been our approach to security. And we've had around we've had over 400K like locked in our smart contracts as savings over this summer. But I mean, like it's anything with a smart contract, I would always say like, we follow 100% best practice. We're getting audited, but like any kind of DeFi protocol, like don't put every single penny of your personal savings in it. But yeah, we take security very seriously, and we'll be doing more audits as we as we iterate and improve the platform as well.
Okay, that's a great piece of advice. And then the follow-up question, I think you saw it as well. Is there a minimum lock-in period? I think it depends on the pool, right?
Yeah, so it depends on the pool. So like we've been doing a lot of pools that go for like a relatively short amount of time. So we've been doing them for around like a month or 5 weeks. We are going to launch some like longer pools as well. Actually, there'll be a longer pool coming on Cello like towards the end of the month. That's also a little bit of alpha there, which should also take maybe like a higher sum. It'll be more of like a monthly payment than a weekly payment. So that will go on for a bit longer. You'll also get like with the longer pools, you get a higher GG score because we gamify this score based upon like how much you put in and how long the duration that it's there for. So if you want to get a high GG score, look out for the longer pools. But if you just want to play around, we typically have games that last like 4 weeks. We even did one that was shorter for Halloween. I think it was only like 10 days or something. It was just more for people to get familiar with the platform as well. So we may do these kind of shorter games as well.
Cool. Another question, like on the brands. Because I asked this question for Sebastian from the Sandbox, and of course the Sandbox is onboarding a lot of brands like they yeah, the Snoop Dogg would be a big brand joining the sandbox. How do you see it for good ghosting? Are brands also interested in incorporating with good ghosting to create pools or to do brand awareness? Are they banks, or I don't know? Are there brands coming to you, or only blockchain projects?
We've been so far. Only been collaborating with blockchain projects. Although, like, I would definitely like to see that kind of change in the future. So, if you are listening to this and you're a blockchain project or a non-blockchain project, and you'd be interested in doing a collaborative pool, definitely reach out to us. I think we are like a little earlier on in our journey than Sandbox, so I think it will come. It'll just take a little bit of time. We do have in our smart contracts, as well as the especially with good ghosting, we've done a number of sponsored pools where you can pay in and the money is going to Aave or to Moola on Cello, and that's kind of generating the yield. But we also have this functionality where we can deploy like a smart contract and then give it like a sponsored ERC20 token. So that could be like literally any
Cool.
ERC20, and that would get at the end that just gets split amongst everyone who was a regular saver. So it's sort of like a pot to divide. So that's what we've done with a number of different products. So, for example, yeah, like this week when we launched with Crypto Coliseum, they have their own ERC20 token, and they were like kind enough to sponsor some of that. We also did one with Float Capital for ETH Lisbon, where they also sponsored. They have a flippening ERC20 token, which is pretty interesting. So we've been doing a lot in the blockchain space, but I think as we mature, we will definitely want to kind of reach out to those non-blockchain brands as well, for sure.
Yeah, super cool. And I believe that brands will have NFTs in the near future, and that they
Yeah.
maybe want to partner to give out the NFTs to regular savers on their pool with good ghosting, so that people can then have the NFT of the brand and the utility attached to that NFT. So that might be, yeah, super cool to bring brands to DeFi and to good
Mm.
ghosting. One of Yeah, for me it's always has been a tough question. Like when you do DeFi, as being a marketeer, you always want to know like who your users are. You want to get a lot of data on where they're from, how old they are, male, female, how active are they, what other interests do they have. How do you tackle this with good ghosting? Do you have a lot of information about your users with Google Analytics, or how do you do it? Because it's mainly on DeFi with Web3. Yeah, well,
We're actually pretty low touch on the analytics side of things. So we do have some like analytics like on our website where we can track like numbers of views and stuff. But we are like, I mean, we speak to our users a lot, so we're in the Discord with them a lot. We've done also some user surveys. So we also had a team member, Jesse, who had a kind of background in user research, and he did both some quantitative and qualitative work there to find out what kind of backgrounds people had, what they're looking to get out of DeFi as well. And it's something we'll be actively doing more of as we go, and like also looking at like, I mean, what we need to do is we have with our kind of version one of our smart contracts and where we've been, in the last 6 months that we've had our products out into the world, we have been more crypto native than the end vision for good ghosting. So now it'll be kind of like, how do we research those users who are like crypto curious users who might be maybe they don't have like Venly, or maybe they don't have a wallet set up like that, but they're kind of curious to know and they want to know. So we need to like learn more about that. So we will definitely be doing more research. I mean, we can also like, because it is the blockchain, we do have the ability to kind of do some analysis on the like addresses that we get, and we can see kind of what other protocols our users are doing. Although we haven't done a huge amount of that, so don't worry if you want to use good ghosting. We're not going to stalk your address too much. But yeah, we will be doing more research in terms of like how do we onboard the non-crypto natives? This is the big
yeah,
question, really.
yeah, exactly. And yes, we have a few more minutes. If anyone from the audience want to ask a question, just put your question in a comment on the stream that you're on, and we will see him popping up here. My last question would be a double question. What are the main challenges in creating such a product like Good Ghosting? Is it finding the right team? Is it the technology, finding the partners, or building that community? And then my second question, the follow up question on it would be, how did you start building that community around good ghosting? Because there are so many projects and so many people in DeFi with so much things going on. It's hard to grab people's attention. So yeah, what
Mm.
are the main challenges, and how did you start, like the very first community members? How did you reach out to them?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good question. So I think, I mean, in terms of like the challenges that we have, it's like pretty much with any kind of like startup, it's like there's so many challenges. Like, like hiring, we've actually been lucky to, have quite a good network. So we've been able to kind of reach out from that. So we are like kind of following up the hiring process, but it's always hard, always takes some time to hire good people. Growing the community, like I think that's also been like, I don't know if it's a challenge, but it does take, it takes work to be present and to actually like create stuff to bring people in. And, as you say, people do have limited bandwidth and the space can be quite noisy. So like, how do you give the community something of value and a reason to be in your Discord and not to be somewhere else? I think that's also a challenge. And then I'm just trying to think, technically, like, it's always like, I mean, there are certain technical challenges to it, and it's just always kind of the mixing, like, especially when you're a small team, there's like so many things that you want to do that are going to be amazing for the project. But then how do you like decide what you're going to do and kind of move the path forward? And I think that's why, like, I think definitely in the beginning, that's why it does make sense to have a little bit more of a centralized team, because these sort of product management decisions are not easy, and they're probably not going to difficult to be made in a collective way, like with the whole community. But yeah, in terms of like how did we grow our original community? So we actually, this is another part of the Good Ghosting story, origin story, which I didn't actually touch on yet. So the original idea was ideated at ETH London, but the current team that we have on it, aside from myself, like I was at ETH London, but the current team who also working on the project, we all met through Gitcoin kernel program last summer. So we were in the Gitcoin kernel cohort 1, which was a really amazing, it's kind of like a accelerator for people, I guess, slash incubator. So you can go with a project, you can go as a person, you can go as somebody who wants to, start working in Web3, whatever your kind of goal is. They accommodate quite a wide range of people. So we actually all met through kernel, and it's a really well connected community. We also, we've met some investors and other kind of user testers through that. I've also been part of, I've been in the space since 2017. So I've been a member of like a number of different DAOs. So I'm a member of Metagamma Delta DAO, which is a DAO focused on onboarding women into the space. So I had some contacts from there. And then it's kind of just, I think we made the Discord probably about a year ago. And then it just kind of over time, people start to come in. And the more you collaborate, the more people come across from other communities, and the more it does grow. But yeah, it takes work. It definitely takes work. And it just grows over time. But yeah, I think as long as you're putting something out, and I think so far, like the feedback we've had on the project has been really good. People are really enjoying like the kind of saving challenges. They're really enjoying the NFTs. So I think that definitely helps, like having, kind of a core product and a vision to kind of build that community around. So that's the kernel that's the kernel site. Actually, I'll do a little shout out for them, because they really did help us. I think they actually are now taking applications for the next cohort that's starting next year. So I would recommend, if there's anyone listening here who either wants to get into Web3, or they're in Web3 already, but they want to like form a team, or they want to raise money, etc., then like definitely check out Gitcoin kernel. It's a really amazing program to be part of.
Awesome. Yeah, it's kernel.community for people that wanna join a cohort like Rachel did in the beginning of ghosting. So that's, yeah, great pieces of advice. I believe that if you fall in the rabbit hole, go to hackathons, talk with people on Discord, look for tools or platforms like Kernel to find co-founders. And then, yeah, the other piece of advice that you shared is don't put all your money on the same protocol, just to stay safe in the space. But yeah, good ghosting is super safe. So on good ghosting, you have near to zero
Yeah.
risk, I would say. So that's super fine. Thank you so much, Rachel, for all of those, all of your answers, all of those great insights on DeFi, on NFTs, on Web3, and on good ghosting. Yeah, I'm a big fan of good ghosting. I tried it in the beginning, and yeah, you're hiring. So if people are interested in being part of the community, yeah, a community manager you're hiring. I don't know if you're hiring other profiles as well on good ghosting.
Yeah, I mean, we're always interested to speak to developers, but community manager and developers would be what we're looking for at the moment. And also, yeah, just jump into our Discord, and yeah, like also like in to just chime into that advice. Don't be afraid to put some money into DeFi. You know what I mean? Just put some, like, experiment with some of these protocols. You know, of course, I would say good ghosting. It is it's quite a user friendly one to begin with, but like, of course, not just good ghosting. You definitely learn by, this is a space where you learn by doing, you know, so the more you kind of do, the more you know, the more experience you get. Like, you also get cool stuff like airdrops, so it's like not a bad place to kind of dip your toes into, just, you know, in a sensible way with your spare money, you know. And then quickly it becomes like, you know, suddenly it becomes like, okay, I've got way more money on my wallet than I do in my bank account, because, you know, there's just possibilities here that aren't available in a traditional finance space, you know.
Exactly, and indeed, yeah, you experiment, or you learn while doing and experimenting, and maybe you're gonna lose some money somewhere, but you're gonna earn that back just by the things that you experimented and learn by doing so. So yeah, people experiment and talk with people, talk in discourse. I believe that this space is so open right now. Everybody want to help each other, so please go and jump into the Good Ghosting Discord. It's a great Discord with super smart people that can help you as well. So big thanks again, Rachel, for this. The talk is recorded and will be on our Spotify, so we will share this later. And yeah, and any last words? Oh yeah, last question from my end. Sorry, is we always ask, like, who should be our next guests? Who would you put on stage?
Oh, okay. This is a question I've been put on the spot. Okay, so I'm going to say, like, put it actually, and these are actually part of the original Good Ghosting team at East London, but Superfluid are doing some really interesting stuff with like programmable streams of cryptocurrency. So check them out. So like, they might want to be a guest for you. So Superfluid, it will be my answer for that.
Okay, cool. Super fluid. Noted.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And yeah, hope to see each other in real life soon at an event. And we'll talk in Telegram.
Awesome. Thanks. And thank you for having me on. Cheers.
Always. Bye bye. Thank you. I'm gonna introduce the next guest for next week already. That will be Chirac from By Economy. So he will be talking about simplifying Web3 and how to make it user friendly, and also talking about the interoperability. And I believe that we're gonna talk about gasless transactions as well. So it's going to be a little bit more technical with Chirac from By Economy. So I hope to see you. It's going to be in 2 weeks, so November 18th, and I will see you here or on another channel or in the Spotify in the podcast. Bye bye.